Some scientists theorize a zombie virus could be virulent and deadly. But how would this new disease first infect the human population? Experts agree on a most likely source.
All the recent diseases have come from some mutation from animals. Animals really are the place where diseases begin. The next zombie pandemic is very, very likely to come from an animal.
So if we were to think about the circumstances that would be necessary to create a zombie pandemic, we would look for something like a large animal research facility being moved into a place where whatever organisms are being studied there would somehow be disrupted and let out into the public near a population center in an uncontrolled fashion. They could invade the food chain and become available to the general population. That's the kind of scenario that would create a zombie pandemic.
Preppers and scientists believe just one small mistake could unleash the zombie apocalypse.
If I think a zombie apocalypse is going to happen, it's not going to happen by intent. It's going to happen by accident.
If we ignore the possibility that a mutated virus could turn into a plague, we will have an apocalyptic situation on our hands.
Killer diseases, terrorism threats, and secret government research. Sounds like a blockbuster movie, but it's the storyline of a real place, a lab run by the Department of Homeland Security. And now it's about to clear its last hurdle before coming to Kansas.
A new high-security governmental bio-research lab and animal testing center is relocating to the Midwest, and it's leading the local news.
New concerns are surfacing about a national bio and agro-defense lab planned for Manhattan, Kansas. Some say the government has underestimated the dangers.
It's a trade-off. On the one hand, you obviously want to invest a fair amount of research in terms of combating new possibilities of pathogens or epidemics or bioterrorism. On the other hand, the more you invest in this stuff, the more you increase the likelihood that there will be some kind of accident that could then, without anyone expecting it, lead to the spread of some kind of epidemic in the United States.
I have major questions about why the government decided to build that type of facility and why they decided to build it there.
Matthew is not the only one to feel threatened by the proposed bio-research lab. Alfredo Carbajal is founder and leader of the Kansas Anti-Zombie Militia.
I live about 5 minutes away from where the proposed facility is. There is a high possibility of having some kind of zombie outbreak with a biolab that's being moved in here. We formed together to be a preparation group. We are a group of individuals with different skills, some of us ex-military, police officers, people trained in firefighting, paramedics. Home is supposed to be where you feel safe at. I no longer feel safe knowing that something like this is coming near me.
A zombie virus basically spreads by a bite. An infected zombie bites a susceptible human, transforming that human into a zombie.
It's quite terrifying. There's no reason why we should think that a virus that turns us into flesh-eating monsters is unrealistic.
Pandemic, the end of days.
Matthew has traveled from Florida to meet with Kansas-based prepper Alfredo to share concerns about the proposed new bio-research facility.
Alfredo, how are you, sir? Matthew. Nice to meet you. How you doing, sir?
Doing pretty good.
What do you got for me? Give me some information.
I know they're bringing in some pretty bad viruses, diseases to study on.
Well, what happened if an animal gets loose from this facility? It'd be like a rat.
Of course, us being farmland, they could get into some of the grains and
Get in feedstock.
And pass to animals or even the people that eat the produce.
And when you look at the location, just for the United States, it's literally smack dab in the middle of the United States.
The heartland.
The heartland, yes.
Kansas, meant to be in the middle of nowhere. But of course, if you think about Kansas, Kansas was actually where the 1918 Spanish influenza outbreak started. started at army barracks in Kansas. It was only called Spanish influenza because Spain was reporting it because the media blacked out from the First World War.
The pandemic went on to spread disease and death around the world.
Major pandemics have about a 90-year cycle. The Spanish influenza outbreak of 1918 killed 100 million people. That was an enormous proportion of the world at the time. We have many more people, of course, now. If it kills about the same proportion, we're in big, big trouble.
Matthew and Alfredo visit the site of the facility.
There's a sign, NBAF, right there.
National Bio and Agro Defense Facility. Authorized personnel use only.
This is it, huh?
Yep.
You see, there's cameras on the telephone pole.
Yep.
Look, you got cattle right here. Is that part of the column?
Yes, that's part of the agricultural department.
Mad cow disease is often talked about when we talk about zombies. What is mad cow disease? It's a prion-related illness. It's proteinaceous infection. That's where the word prion comes from. These are proteins. They're not even alive. But what they do is invade the brain and change the brain into a spongiform shape. As the brain turns to mush, to the spongiform shape, the behavior starts to approximate the behavior that we think of when we think of zombies. Mad cow disease is also transmitted from animal to human. That's important for us to think about. If we're postulating a zombie virus that causes a zombie pandemic, it would most likely begin in animals and make its way to humans.
Everything is so much closer in reality than it shows on the map.
The proposed National Bio and Agro Defense Facility in Manhattan, Kansas, will study a range of infectious diseases. Matthew and Alfredo are concerned about its proximity to the local community.
We got retirement community to the east here.
The feed distribution center right here. Livestock
To the
right
north,
there. Stadium, hospital. What's past the hospital?
there's an elementary school there. And actually inside a residential area. We need to inform the people that this is an actual danger. This is not just, something you see in movies or you read about. This is actual, this can be a reality.
The thing that should worry people is what haven't they thought of? What is the ways in which unintentionally, a group of cattle could somehow wind up sharing the same thing as this biolab? The critical question is how quickly scientists can figure out how the zombie pandemic was spreading. They've got to figure that out quickly. Otherwise, it'll be too late.
A zombie apocalypse happening is not a question of if, it's a question of when.
A zombie apocalypse would change everything. What if your kid's trying to eat you, trying to kill you?
You have to do what you have to do.